So now we will listen to an expert using and advising clients every day on the use of artificial intelligence and generative AI. So let me introduce you to Yann Bilissor. He's a Chief Technology Officer of Cellenza, a partner of Microsoft. He's an expert in data, artificial intelligence, and will drive us through the stakes of AI and concrete example of its application in different businesses. So welcome, Yann. Thank you for joining us this morning at the OBSF session, speaking from Paris to the audience in Munich. Let's dive into the heart of the matter. As an expert and advanced user of ChatGPT and generative AI, can you tell us what's the reality behind the magic?
Yes, hello everyone. I think I cannot explain the reality behind without starting first for the very beginning. And I think a good point of starting is from the statement from the OpenAI CEOs, who states that one of the biggest challenges in computer science and AI has always been finding the most appropriate or correct interface between human and machine. And I really share this statement because if we look at the end user experience over time with computer, there is something that is constantly being improved. It's the interface. We're starting from electronic interface, only dedicated to small, high-skilled people that know how to use it, to something that is much more close to the more natural, interface, the language. We have seen a lot of improvements, such as a graphical user interface that then be created. We have seen a lot of product with AI. It's because we have improved also the interface, the way we want to interact with the machine. And from AI perspective, it's exactly the same. When we first started in the 1956, working on the first AI tasks, it was only dedicated to small, highly skilled people that know how to interact with the machine. Even when we, work on machine learning, it was only dedicated to research. They know how to create a model, how to train a model, and to do a lot of tasks. When deep learning, had been adopted inside our product, it was because we have smartphones, we have application. We can, put it in a much more product and make it accessible to a lot of people. And more recently, I've been talking about generative AI, this new subset of AI that allows users to generate content, such as text, images, etc. So to better understand what is the reality behind, I think we have to understand also what is the big difference between, conventional or traditional AI versus this new subset of AI. So let's start with the difference. Let's say that tomorrow you want to predict what will be the Microsoft stock performance, okay? Or whatever stock you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask your data scientists to work on the models that know how to forecast. Let's call it Model A. And after that, you realize that, okay, you are receiving a lot of documentation from your partners. And maybe it's time consuming for your guys. And you want to help them to automate, the classification. What you're going to do? You're going to build a Model B for classification as well. And let's keep going. You have the documentation, but you want to build contract automatically. You want to maybe to extract some information from the documents, such as clients, the fund information, investment, whatever it is. You want to extract some information, some key information. You will build a Model C for entity interaction as well, etc., etc. So you will scale this, specific task by building new model for this. This is traditional AI. You build a model and, you deploy it for business application. But a few years ago, very, very smart people from Stanford, they realized that, or they will, figure out, what if we could create a model, a based model that can help us, maybe perform the task of A, but also can learn how to do B and C, etc., etc. And this big model will have some foundational capabilities. This is called, model foundational models. But to have these big models that know not only how to solve a problem, but to approach the problem solving, require a lot of data. So they use a terabyte of data from internet to train this model, to generate output, and to maybe to just have a little small data to add on top of that to perform the A, B, C, D tasks. So this is the principle of generative AI. When we come to text, it's exactly the same architecture. The only change here, the terabyte of data of inputs, is human-like input. It's a bunch of sentences that has been used to train this big model, LLM, and to generate human-like output. So the term generative comes because the model is able to generate the last word of a sentence from previous word. So this is, the generative capabilities. This is just for text. Large language model, ChatGPT beyond ChatGPT. But wait, we can use the same principle for different fields as well. Let's say we, build this architecture for language, but we could do the same for vision to perform, specific tasks when it comes to images, people recognition, background removal, etc., etc. We can do the same for code generation because we have a lot of business use case out there to maybe convert the SQL to Python or to generate new application. We can do this. We can do it also for chemistry or for science, etc., etc. So the potential of this kind of architecture, of this kind of AI is, we can say, limitless because we don't know yet where we are going to end up with this kind of technologies. But we are sure about some things. That's it has the potential to change some business out there. So if there is like three things I just wanted to share with you about generative AI. First of all, so it's a subset of AI or AGI, artificial general intelligence, that generates new content such as text, images, and music, and maybe more tomorrow. It takes inspiration from existing data. If you remember the slide before, the terabyte of data from internet, and it can generate new or unexpected outputs. We're going to see maybe later how to be cautious about it. And the last item is more like, a vision is every leader out there, they agree to say it's maybe a game changer because maybe for the first time in history, machine learns how to think outside the box. We obtain something that's not only do specific, problem solving, but learn how to approach problem solving. This is a very big difference. And to reply to your question, what is the reality behind the magic? If we break ChatGPT to small pieces, so it's generative AI of GPT family. GPT is the architecture. It has been trained on a massive amount of data, until 2021, as Benoit said before, and it understands human-like inputs and generates human-like outputs. And you can talk, on several topics such as science, technology, history, culture, and many more. And those items constitute the ChatGPT models. So we have the GPT, which is more technical architecture behind, and you have like this, human interface, the interface of, to communicate with the model, which is, the ability to understand and generate human-like response. And one last thing also is why people talk a lot about ChatGPT, because for generative tasks, it's very a boost of productivity. Because you can do some content generation. For instance, you want to auto-reply to a mail. You can do summary extraction. You have business documents. You want to extract key information, etc., etc. So it's very important for this kind of tasks. It has a deep understanding of the world because it has been trained on a terabyte of data, on problem solving. But I will also say, not only, like focus AI or conventional AI, it's more like how to approach the problem solving rather than knowing how to solve the problem. That's why you can fine-tune this kind of model to perform, specific dedicated tasks. And also, it's when we say reasoning, we maybe going to talk about it later. It's the ability to explain how it comes up to a certain decision or to certain results. Maybe it's wrong, but it's going to tell you, okay, I got this result because I did A, B, C, and D. So this is like more foundational also capabilities. And as I was saying, yes, you can fine-tune the model because there is a base capability inside. And if you want to do like forecasting, then you're going to show him how to do forecasting, maybe to help him with your business context, etc., etc. And one last thing is maybe you can, have a misuse of this model. They have like responsible AI layer, maybe to avoid some misuse of the model. So this is what I can say about what is the reality behind the magic.
Can you now give us some concrete example of its applications?
You have like a lot of possibilities to work with this kind of model. You can maybe let me take you an example of one of the chatbots we have developed with a financial company that wants to access information. So the chatbot has been deployed in January last 2 months ago. It allows a business user to have information about fund investment, and to have like some information, key information about company metrics, such as what is the revenue of the company, what is the debt, what is the EBITDA, etc., etc. And we deploy a chatbot inside Microsoft Teams to help the front office, the business, to have quickly access to this kind of information in natural language way. So let me just share my second screen to show you directly inside Microsoft Teams how to do that. Okay, so here I'm inside Microsoft Teams. As you can see, I have this kind of interface. I have this kind of interface. That's when the user, the business comes in, they can just have the classical experience with the application, the interface of the application. They can just click on a button to access, for instance, the NAV of a fund, or to access a global report for a country. So here, for instance, you have a card that just describes, it's a report, fund report. You have the NAV, you have the top sectors, you have the top countries in terms of NAV. And you can just see the details, it's being generated by from the data that is inside a data warehouse. We can also see the top countries. For instance, in France, it's 10%. We can see a distribution of funds. It's fund information. But let's say user wants to access the same information using natural language. So it can just say, okay, maybe show me the best 8 funds in euro, because I can change the currency, or maybe I can say just to say the GPY if you want. I can specify the country I want in France, and maybe the dates. So here I will do it for Q1, quarter 1 in 2000. And I will see what the machine is going to say. So the machine, it understands, my query, but it's to show only the top 8 funds. You can see it here, using, the currency, the GPY. It understands the date as well, and we can see that okay, it's for France. And the graphical has been generated because it understood the query, extracted the key information, go to the database, the data warehouse, take all the data, generates the graphical, graph you can see here, and return the result to the users. We can do a lot of stuff here. To go, a step above it, we can activate, like what we call a freestyle way of asking question. So maybe I would just want to have like a ChatGPT experience with my data in the data warehouse. For this, there is a specific command called superpower. And when we activate this command, it's like you are talking to ChatGPT, but with your data inside your data warehouse. First of all, I'm going to start by telling him, okay, what companies are under management. So he should understand the query, go to the database, and return the results. Here is the company currently under management are PetSmart, Kyobo, etc., etc. I can maybe ask him, okay, what information do you have about a certain company? Public and private one. The private are from the data warehouse. So what can you tell me about Kyobo, a specific company? And normally, yes. So Kyobo, it's an insurance company based in South Korea, reported a total value, which is the NAV, from the data warehouse. It also extracted the revenue, the EBITDA, etc., etc. So we have the connection of the both world, public information and private one in the data warehouse. But I can go further by asking him to make some calculation or simulation. Let's say, what will be the revenue of, I'm changing the company, of PetSmart, for instance, if there is an increase of 30%. So he understands the query. The revenue of PetSmart will be, you have the value if there is an increase. And the data are coming from the data warehouse. So we have these features as well.
Can you give us other examples based on ChatGPT Playground, an application that most of the people in the room have downloaded and log into it?
Yes. So just before, if you allowed me, so let me just back in the sharing. So if we back here, if we see the landscape of feature of possible features, we have this, creativity possible. We can generate images, we can generate text, we can generate codes, we can have image generation and a lot of stuff. It's because we have these main features that are available from OpenAI APIs. First of all, you have the GPT-3. Now we have in GPT-4, so you can do a lot of things. We have an example, for instance. Here is just a simple prompt. We're asking to write the tagline for an ice cream shop. It generated very well. We can just Codex. It's an API that's help to work with code generation. We have a SQL table here, and we ask GPT model to help us to generate a SQL query to query the data. And also you have the DALL-E APIs that allows you to maybe to generate images based on human-like input. So here it's a white simulated cat. But with GPT-4, for instance, we can do more. Very more, because here it's an example of a multimodal example where the input, it's a complex object, it's an images, and we are asking question on that images. For instance, here we are asking what is funny about this picture. We can see a smartphone, so an iPhone connected to a VGA, an old cable, right? And the model outputted you understand what is in the picture, you have the description, but also understood the absurdity of connecting an old cable and this recent smartphones. So this is an example also of GPT-4 that is out there that you can use capabilities. And for the playground, if you want us to, we can do more with another example. Here, I will do the same with inside the playground, just to show you some. You have here the conversation with a customer. So a bunch of text. And you want to extract key information. First of all, the main reason of the conversation, you want the sentiment of the customer, how did the agent handle the conversation, what was the final outcome of the conversation, etc. And you can see in green the output of the models, very straight. Okay, it can generate a lot of text, but you can also guide it to just generate, a small text in, the format you want. A second example before we go into the playground, it's, here we have this text in German. Sorry, I don't even understand what is the meaning of this. But we want the model to generate, a customer information, communication. We can change the language, and we can just also specify the format. So we have this input. We give the holder the request to the model. We want you to generate a formal customer communication in English. When we give, we specify some information, key information, and the model generated for us. Let's see lively in the playground how we can, maybe fine-tuning this kind of task. I'm just sharing another screen here. Okay, we have basically the same text. I don't know if you already have access here, but me, I'm using the Microsoft interface for OpenAI, which is called Azure OpenAI Studio. And you have access to a lot of, type of models that you can use. I'm using the DaVinci one. And here I have an input. My input is here. Here is my request. I want to generate a formal customer communication in English. I want to offer help with this, the tense of the contents and the date formats, and the output in the later format as well. So I just can click on generate. Yes, and here we can see that it's automatically generated. The data, it respected the format. So here the time, the format is good. The tense also of the sentence is good because we are apologetic here, etc., etc. I can change it lively. Maybe I just want it in Spanish. So I'm just going to remove it and generate it here. Might take a bit of time. Yes, I'm not an expert in Spanish, but I will trust the model. So this is the kind of playground you can also use to test a lot of features. You have a ton of example here: how to generate an email, how to extract information, to convert some codes, and things like that. Okay, it's free. If you create an account, you can test it. You can play with the model, and maybe try to think or to see if it can fit any business case you might have.
So we witness these days a lot of outcries around the use of ChatGPT, generative AI. We spoke about Italy banning, wanting to ban it. We also have a group of 1,000 experts led by Elon Musk wanting to stop the use of generative AI. So what are the risks and limits of using this technology?
Okay. We are all agree that this kind of technology presents a great potential for generative tasks to boost productivity, for content generation, for entity extraction, for maybe you want to migrate an application to translate some codes, you want to make simulation, whatever it is. We are all agree that okay, the potential is there. But I also think that we have to be cautious because it only has been like a few years since we really mastered this kind of technology. So when we come up to some, what is the like the bad side of this, or what, not the bad side, but some items in which we are not yet sure, 100% sure to apply it into a business. Let's start with, this statement from Elon Musk, who say that, okay, what we need is a truth GPT. Because what you have seen so far is there is like business out there, they use ChatGPT as a golden data source or a fact database. So maybe they have to be cautious about it because the data, it gets inspiration from terabyte of data. It's not like a fact database. So it can generate a lot of different output from the same query. Also, several questions about how to avoid disinformation campaign, because as the model is going to, it's been fed by a lot of text. So how you avoid maybe, the output, the bad output, how to fix hallucination issues. As Benoit mentioned, they observe like sometimes the model is convinced of its generation to be so convinced that the generation that is made is real or it's not. How to control the outcomes for the world safety. For instance, if I say to the model how to create a bomb, should the model reply to that? How to control the fact database usage. This is a big one. It's not from me. It's from the CEOs of OpenAI, Sam, who really say that even the model could act like a fact databases. But you should be cautious about it because we have seen, I don't know if you have play a bit with that, but you can give him the same input and it will generate different type of output. Okay, because it had been programmed to create or to generate content. So be cautious about it. Also, one of the questions for artists, and we have seen in networks, is because the model is gaining, it's taking inspiration from public information, from bunch of sentences produced by people, a bunch of images produced by artists. So who ultimately owns the generated content? This is a big question. An open question is: do we need like an AI identity for artists? Maybe if an artist has some artworks, maybe you can generate some kind of footprints for this, and then when the model gets inspired by this, so we know that it's kind of copyright, or we have to pay this artist. How does everyone get paid? Because if the model is getting inspired by a bunch of data from internet, so everyone contribute to it. It's a question. And another opening question is how to even detect that the content has been generated by AI. We have seen that in French school, where a French student was using the output from the model to pass exam. Okay, so this is one of the big questions as well. But if I have like some advice to give you based on what I'm seeing now into the business, it's very hard to predict the outcome of the technologies. But as of today, don't use it as autopilot, but instead use it as your 24/7 work copilot. Don't use it only as traditional AI, but use these generative capabilities for creativity. So use it for the think outside the box assistant that can help you to explore many more. And the last one is don't use it as a golden source of information, but instead you can extend it to your up-to-date database or data context. So this is my points about the fact to be cautious about it.
Thank you very much, Yann.